They say you can learn a lot about a person from their shoes, to their car, to the Grail watch list. And today I'm very interested to see what you guys and ChatGPT have to say about me. And not really about my shoes or my car, which is usually New Balances and a Toyota if you're interested, but particularly about my Grail list. So I was inspired by a video by Aiden Barker over from Bark and Jack, and I was wondering what would ChatGPT say about my Grail list? So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about me. And not only about my Grail list, one of my Grails is actually not completely decided, so I can really use you guys' help. But before we dive in, let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT has to say about an overall summary of my watch Grail list.
Your Grail list tells a story of someone who values a blend of heritage, craftsmanship, adventure, and personal meaning in their watch collection. Each piece reflects a different aspect of your personality and experiences, showing that you don't just collect watches for their prestige but for the stories they tell and the values they represent. Here's what your current Grail list suggests about you.
That's actually pretty solid. I think that was a pretty good summary, but let's dig into it. So for the first watch on my Grail list, if you know me, you know that I'm a huge Timex collector. I have well over 150 Timexes across my room and office. And the watch that I will be able to purchase once I reach 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that wherever the button is the Timex Galley S2. So I actually own a couple of the Galley S1s. From their design, language, to their horological history, to just their connection to Timex is huge to me. And I think the Galley S2 is that next step into Timex, stepping into almost that luxury realm and really challenging the perceptions and conception of what Timex is. When Giorgio Galli made this watch, he said he wanted to make it the most Timex ever. And I think that it really encapsulates so many things, from being able to be beautiful, luxurious, resilient, and still be attainable by the everyday person. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this watch on my Grail list.
This piece embodies your deep appreciation for Timex and its accessible yet iconic status. It's a nod to your love for heritage, history, and the connection that Timex has had with everyday watch wearers.
I think they kind of hit it spot on. All right, so that was pretty good from my perspective. But let me know what you think about ChatGPT's perspective on the S2 below. The next watch is, I'm going to go ahead and get the Rolexes out of the way because I also have a Rolex on my Grail list. I prefer the Timex, but I do respect the Rolex. And the first Rolex, the one that if I could have any in the Rolex line, it'd be the Rolex Milgauss, and particularly the one with the white dial. What I like about this watch is its distinctiveness. Hot take, I'm not a big fan of the Submariner. And one of the issues that I have with the Submariner is that so many people know what it is, and it's just such a Rolex. While I want my Timexes to be Timexes, I don't want to constantly be coming up, people talking to me about the Rolex. I want something that I can appreciate, enjoy the horological history of, without it really drawing too much attention to itself. And I think the Milgauss is perfectly that watch, and it has some kind of cool scientific history to it. But let's see what ChatGPT has to say about the Rolex Milgauss.
The Milgauss is a great addition, offering a unique Rolex that's not as commonly seen as models like the Submariner or Oyster Perpetual. The white dial adds a bit of boldness, and its anti-magnetic properties reflect your interest in robust and distinctive designs.
Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty solid. And I do have two Rolexes on my Grail list. And so the second Rolex kind of goes with some of those same principles of not being overly distinct, but also being robust and be able to take into the field. And so I have an active lifestyle. I like being able to go out, go hiking, go in the woods and stuff like that. But I also want something sleek, something fashionable, and something that has a cool story to it. And so the Rolex Explorer 2, I think is a great Explorer watch for me, as well as having that GMT function, because at my job, I have a lot of times where I need to communicate with people overseas. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this one.
You appreciate the spirit of exploration and adventure, as this model was designed with rugged environments in mind. Given your military background and love for outdoor activities, it aligns well with your lifestyle. The distinctive white dial also shows you value a watch that stands out subtly without being too flashy.
I think ChatGPT might know me. This is getting kind of eerie. But let's see what they think about the next one. And this one is where I actually need you guys' help. I love the history of the breakage between Grand Seiko and King Seiko, and the competition within the company, and some of the history goes into that, and eventually obviously the quartz crisis as well. But I don't know which King Seiko I want. So if you're a King Seiko fan, please, please, please let me know in the comments down below which ones I should consider adding to my Grail list. I just know that one day I want to own a King Seiko. I just don't know which one. But let's see what it said, because all I told ChatGPT is I just want a King Seiko. So let's see what it has to say.
You respect horological history, especially the story of Seiko and Grand Seiko split, which reflects your interest in craftsmanship and innovation. The choice of King Seiko demonstrates a deep dive into watch history, preferring a piece that celebrates Seiko's heritage over more obvious choices.
That's actually pretty impressive, like for its ability to kind of figure that out. I did add a little bit of context of why I wanted each watch, but like it kind of dug that in. And I think if you know about the story of the page, Wrist Unwound, where watches and stories meet, the story is so important to me because I love the horological history. I'm not really looking to impress anyone with my Grail list. It's just more about like what I want when I think satisfies my needs. And if you've watched my previous videos, you know about my 2 watch rules, and they're very simple. 1, if you buy a watch that tells time. And 2, if you buy a watch that is going to make you happy. Because at the end of the day, our collection journey is about us. And if you ever have to choose between those rules, always go with what makes you happy. And so its ability to kind of highlight my appreciation for the history and story makes me feel good about my Grail list so far. But I'm still interested in what you guys think. All right, so let's go to the next one, and that's gonna be a Grand Seiko, particularly the 4 Seasons collection and the spring one that is inspired by the cherry blossoms. I've seen one of these in person. I love the dial. I also love the engineering behind the spring drive and how Grand Seiko has really pushed the market. I also kind of like that non-watch people don't really know about Grand Seiko the way that us watch nerds do. So that only adds to the appeal to me as well. But let's see what ChatGPT has to say.
Heat Pink Dial adds a touch of uniqueness to your collection and shows a willingness to embrace something different. Grand Seiko's emphasis on artisanal craftsmanship and design also aligns with your appreciation for fine details. This watch reflects your admiration for nature-inspired aesthetics and the idea of wearing art on your wrist.
Man, ChatGPT is pretty good. This is kind of scary. But yeah, it kind of hit on a lot of the points that I was looking for. Yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and close up with my last 2 watches. And these 2 watches are pretty different from one another, but I think they both carry certain themes to it. The next watch we're going to talk about is the Cartier Santos. Particularly, I don't know which model I want. So if you're a Santos fan as well and you have some ideas, I have a small wrist, but I want a Santos that has a date window. That's really important to me. I prefer the white dial. I've seen the ones with like the blue secondhand. I think that's pretty cool. I'm willing to experiment, but I just know I want some kind of Santos. I want something particularly with a date window. And I think one day this will be one of the watches that I pass off to my daughters, whether it be for a life event or for when I know, kick the bucket. But let's see what it has to say about the Cartier Santos.
The Santos is a classic watch with a rich history, as one of the first wristwatches ever designed. It shows that you value iconic designs and watches with significant historical impact. The choice of Cartier adds a touch of elegance and sophistication to your collection.
Pretty good overview of the Santos. And the next watch I want to hit, which I think is also pretty different, but I guess the same in some way. And maybe this is just a moment of the moment, or maybe this will stay Grail, so we'll see in a couple of years. But the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT, the 39mm design, the history of Tudor. Like, if it's not this Tudor, there will be a Tudor in my Grail list because I love the lineage break between Rolex and Tudor and how many people don't know about it, but it's also functional. It's a tool watch, has a GMT feature, has all the specs. Like, this has a lot to me that gives me excitement, and I think that this will be groundbreaking for the future of Tudor, being one of their first, like, it's not their first GMT, but like a GMT that really like took the watch community by storm. And so let's see what it has to say about this one.
This piece brings versatility and practicality with its GMT complication, while also channeling the vintage appeal of Tudor's heritage. It's perfect for someone who values both functionality and classic dive watch aesthetics.
Wow. I think it covered the individual watches pretty good. And I'm very interested to see what it kind of says in the overall conclusion. But before ChatGPT tells me what it thinks about my overall collection, what do you think? You know, recapping, we talked about the Timex Galley S2, the Rolex Milgauss, Explorer 2, a King Seiko, which I'm still trying to figure out which one in particular, Grand Seiko 4 Springs edition, particularly the spring, which is inspired by the cherry blossoms, Cartier Santos, give me some of that fancy, elegant look, as well as transition into the Tudor GMT for more of an everyday kind of watch. Now, that's my Grail list. I'm very interested in what you think of it and what your Grail list is below. And then let's go ahead and let's see what ChatGPT has to conclude with. What kind of person am I? What kind of man am I? What kind of collector am I based on this Grail list?
This Grail list reveals a collector with heart, valuing personal connection over prestige. Choosing pieces like the Timex Gully S2 shows you collect for meaning, not status. Your Rolex picks, the Milgauss and Explorer 2 reveal a taste for unique and unconventional models. Balancing heritage and modernity with selections like the King Seiko and Grand Seiko SBG 413 reflects your appreciation for both the history and artistry of watchmaking.
That's pretty solid. That's a pretty solid review so far. Let's see what it finishes with.
You value iconic design and practicality, like the Cartier Santos and Black Bay GMT, connecting to your adventurous, grounded spirit. Your choices highlight individuality. Each watch tells a story. This collection isn't about following trends, but capturing your experiences and passions. Your Grail list tells us.
I really hope that that's true, but you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Does this really encapsulate all the things that ChatGPT says? Or do you get a different vibe from my Grail list and about me? Let me know down below, and I really appreciate all you guys' support. Remember that once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll be able to actually purchase the first watch in this list. And if you still have some time and you've already subscribed, check out one of the other videos that should be suggested to you somewhere on the screen. But hey, once again, guys, thank you so much. You could have been anywhere in the world and you spent your time with me, and for that, I feel incredibly thankful. God bless you, your family, in the coming days and weeks. God bless and peace.